Hello and welcome back to the When You're podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're recovering after Halloween. So, the spooky season is coming to an end. And I say coming to an end because it's technically Halloween and then it's like, there's like a few more days of like for the Day of the Dead and stuff like that. So you kind of have to like say that it's not to a full close yet because they added on like those extra days, but it's kind of over now. Halloween is over. By the way, I hope everybody had a great Halloween, but it's just like I'm talking specifically for the people who went super duper extra like over the top this Halloween on actual Halloween night. So that recovery period in between. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And it's just like, people go crazy, go stupid, go crazy, go stupid. But then there's the next day and you're kind of like, all right, like that was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. Or you're glad that you did do those things. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I just think that like the recovery period from being out all night or like doing stuff crazy all night is gonna have like those after effects. So let's get into it. So first of all, obviously if you have like a Halloween party, like it really depends on how long you do it for. Cause let's say you finish having the Halloween party at like a reasonable time, 10 p.m. let's say. But then, there's gonna be like a little bit of lingering around. So let's say the party doesn't really end until like midnight. Like the party officially ends at 10 p.m., but unofficially the party really ends at 12 a.m. at midnight. Then you have to clean up. So, I don't assume that there's like a whole lot of cleanup, especially if you have like people who are respectful. But let's just say for the sake of conversation, you have like a Project X Halloween party, just like a total crazy like Coachella festival at your house or whatever, at your whatever you're doing, right? You go crazy and there's like a huge mess everywhere. Just like a big like cups all over the place, broken bottles, things have gotten rearranged, vases are on the floor, like it's crazy, confetti. Then the next day you have to clean all that up. Think about that. You have to clean all that up the next day. And that's not even to mention your physical state, right? Let's say, you're out there and you have a couple drinks, you know what I mean? And then a couple drinks turned into more drinks and more drinks and you can't handle it anymore. So then the next day, guess what happens? You have to clean up. Well, not even the next day. That night, you have to clean up after everybody else and they leave. And you're just like, oh boy, this is a big mess. Guess what happens? You're not recovering. You're still keeping it going, you know what I mean? But now you're just, a little tipsy, you know what I'm saying? Not a little you're totally like it feels like you're on a cruise ship. You're swaying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, now you got to clean all this up, you get no sleep, and then the next day, guess what happens? You got life in the way. So Halloween party, you know what I mean? Go crazy, go stupid, do your thing, but then you have to keep in mind the next day. So then there's the other coin. There's the other side of the coin to the parents, to the other adults who have kids, and they take their kids trick-or-treating. Now, keep in mind, this is a school night, okay? Trick-or-treating is on a school night. So this is why it's so baffling to me that Halloween is on a Tuesday. Because then the next day, they know that their kid... It's like you can't fully enjoy Halloween on those days. It's just like, it doesn't work that way, all right? It's not cool. I just, sometimes the calendar just messes us all up. But whatever. So then you have the parents that take their kids on trick-or-treating. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the trick-or-treating kind of stopped around, because I was passing out candy. The trick-or-treaters kind of stopped around 9 p.m. 9 p.m. So there was like this golden period between 7 and 9, like 2 hours of real trick-or-treating. Not any fake stuff, for real trick-or-treating. Like, people are like out there, they're coming in waves, you know what I mean? They're with their friends and whatnot. Like, that's like the true essence, I guess. Or at least in my neighborhood. But it was just like, they were coming and going, and they were trick-or-treating from 7 to 9 p.m. So I guess the parents kind of were like, yeah, you know, it's just Halloween. We're going to get home at a reasonable time. We're going to put the kids to bed. And then maybe we'll watch like a horror movie or something, you know, do something like that. But what about people who are really out there? People who are really the late night trick-or-treaters. You know what I mean? And this is the issue. This is the problem. For it to be on a school night, Halloween, it means that some of the joy of the night is taken away just right at the beginning. Like, there's no late night adventures for the kids. There's no staying up till however late that they want. There's none of that. All right? It's not like a fun thing, okay? All the fun that happened this Halloween, definitely, at least for the kids, you know, maybe people like, they obviously prolong it, but I'm just saying, like, because this weekend, like the past weekend that happened, that was Halloween, technically. Like, because that was when everybody was off on the weekends, or, you know, it was the weekend, everybody was having a good time, they got their, they called off of work, they did their thing, right? Like, that's the celebration, that's Halloween. And then, you know, kids don't have school the next day, they, you know, so there's a lot more in that than anything else. So it was just so weird, man. And the recovery the next day, I mean, if you go home at a reasonable time, then there really is no recovery, right? It's just like you wake up, take the kids to school, and then work, right? There's no, I guess there's no real recovery period unless you take the kids out trick-or-treating, you come back home, and then that's where the night continues. And, you know, maybe you do allow your child or your kids to stay up past a certain point. You know what I mean? Because I just know for me, it wasn't like Halloween was a forever thing. I definitely wasn't outside for long, but then again, everybody was outside during the same time. So, when I went trick-or-treating as a kid, it was kind of like, you know, obviously it was just around my neighborhood, but it was more so like, because we were in our neighborhood, we could stay out as late as we wanted, as long as we were in a group and together. We could stay out as late as we wanted because everybody was kind of outside, and it was also like, it was our neighborhood, so we knew how to get everywhere. You know what I mean? So it was cool in that way. This time, I feel like it was really a lot more parent focused, I guess, or not a lot of people doing it on their own these days, I guess. But whatever. And then you obviously have the typical horror movies. You could watch a horror movie. I didn't watch horror movies. I more so like kind of saw clips from like on YouTube of like certain scary movies and certain moments. Like I watched Scream with and I think it was Drew Barrymore, where she's like, I watched that scene. I watched the prom scene in Carrie. I watched all those kinds of like clips, you know, from very famous and iconic horror movies, and I was just kind of like, that's horror, you know what I mean? And I like that I didn't have to like watch the whole movie just to get like a little bit of spookiness to it. And then I was starting to freak out, not freak out. I was starting to be like just a little bit, because I was in the dark room and I was kind of just like getting the little heebie-jeebies a bit. So then I was like, let me go to my room instead and just turn the lights on and, you know, think about what I would do if I was in a horror movie. And then after that, I think I started watching some like true crime documentaries, or like certain you know, where they talk about like different serial killers and stuff like that. I would listen to those kinds of stories. And it's kind of like, and it was a little bit, I mean, I don't want to say it was embarrassing, but it was like I was listening to the ones with like the girl, she puts on the makeup and then she talks about it. And I was kind of like, because it's not so scary. It's more of like, oh, this girl's just, you know, she's putting on makeup and she's kind of like, it feels like a gossip session, so to speak. And that might sound like a little bit like whatever, but I just found it like the subject matter is creepy. It's you know, horror, right? And it's like it really happened in real life, so you're kind of like, dang, that's crazy. But at the same time, it's like just some girl putting on makeup. So I was kind of like, it wasn't like freaky. Nothing scared me. It was just more so like, it wasn't. It didn't make me think about like ghosts or like demons or monsters like coming in the dark from like under my bed to grab me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. But whatever. So, anyways, and the recovery from watching something that like is that terrifies you. That's a recovery. Like that's really, because sometimes I'll watch something at night that I'm not like, look, nothing really scares me. Nothing really terrifies me. It's just that there's certain moments or certain things that kind of like make you cover up just a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like when you're in your bed and you're kind of like covered up by your blanket, and then you start to feel like, I'm getting a little hot. So then you take your feet out, but then you're like, but there's a demon under my bed and they'll probably grab me and take me under. So I have to like, you know, pull it back in, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. That makes you like think about it, but it's not really like scaring you per se. I don't know. It's just kind of like those weird thoughts. But again, let's focus more on like the night of Halloween. So it's too much sugar. There's a lot of sugar getting passed around on Halloween. So imagine you're a kid, all right? Take it back. Or you are a kid and you're listening to this. Cool. Shout out to you. Hope you had a great Halloween. But imagine this happening to you, right? People pass around sugar for free to you, right? You take it, you eat it, and then guess what happens? You get like this huge rush. You know, you're hopped up on sugar, and then there's the immediate crash, the immediate decline, the immediate fall down to the ground, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And that's like, oh my goodness, that's probably the worst. I think I remember seeing this where like they have no bucket to like take candy, and instead they just eat the candy right then and there. Like, isn't that nuts? Like, you just go up there, they give you candy, you take like a piece or two, and then like you open it up and you just eat it right there. And then you go to the next house and the next house and you just keep on eating more and more candy. That's nuts. I just, you know, for the life of me, I just kept on getting more candy, like more candy, please. Like that's just how I did it. You know, I didn't grab one and then eat it right away. I grabbed one, put it in my like pillowcase. Why was I blanking on the word there? I was blanking on the word, and I don't know why I was doing that. Anyways, you put the candy in the pillowcase or in like a bucket or whatever, and then you go on to the next, and you try to accumulate as much as you can. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and you remember sorting through the candy? I remember sorting through the candy. So then eventually you dump out your bag or your bucket, and then you're just like sorting through all the good candy and maybe the candy that you don't like. So then there would be like some candy that you would like kind of want. Some of the like, maybe you would separate like the chocolates, or maybe you would separate all the like the gummy candy, and then you would separate all of the like hard tough candy and stuff like that, and then you would like push the ones that you don't want out of the way, stuff like that, you know. And then you would kind of like figure out like, okay, I don't like this, or you're trying candy for the first time, and you're starting to figure out like, I don't like this candy, or I really do like this candy. And then you realize that the best moment of the night, like the highest point where you're like getting all the candy, getting all the sugar, and then it just later on it just turns into a deep low point. Like it's not fun anymore. It's not exciting, especially when you eat so much candy. If you eat so much candy early on in the night, then you have like this insane sugar rush, and then all of a sudden, you know, you hit you're just like, oh man, that was awful. That was a terrible idea. Because imagine you eat all of your Halloween candy that night. I'd probably throw up like eating all of that candy. It's just so sickening. But I do enjoy a nice, you know, I enjoy some sweets. I enjoy candy every now and then. So it's just like, you know, and small amounts, you know what I mean? Here and go, come and go sometimes. But anyways, Halloween on Tuesday is so wild because the next day you just got to go back to regular life. Like it's not even like like right now, it's Wednesday and Halloween is over, and you're just like, yeah, like last night for a lot of people could have been the craziest, wildest Halloween ever. And then for other people, it was just like, yeah, it was just Halloween and we didn't really do anything. And it was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so different how people do Halloween differently, but it's also like what happens the next day afterwards. So the build up, all the build up towards Halloween, like Halloween. And then the next day, it's just like, yeah, now I have to go back and I have to talk to my manager about getting me, you know, something dumb. Just being like, yeah, I have to go to work the next day and I have to sell this thing or whatever. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, well, isn't that nuts? Isn't that nuts that you could like build up to the spookiest night of the whole year, and then the next day it's just like, yeah, there's no more of that. Like there's no more scary nights anymore, or it's like there's no more build up to a scary night. It's more so like it's just another regular day. So what makes the other night so special? You know what I mean? That's why it needs to be like on the weekend. It has to be, because then you can have the rest of the weekend to recover, or like to celebrate or to party or to do your own thing. But for it to be on like on a Tuesday and then the next day there's nothing, they give you like no recovery time. So even if you wanted to go wild, which some people do, some people didn't, but even if they wanted to, if you have work the next day, you get no recovery time. It's like, come on, give us a little bit of something here. But it's so not good for anybody to like waste it. And guess what? If Halloween was like on any other weekday but like a Friday, then it's like, it's just, no, Halloween should be on a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. I think Saturday is good. Then that Sunday, or maybe, you know what, whatever. All I'm trying to say is that like when it's in the middle of the week, you're kind of ruined. But hey, it is what it is. So now let's go back to like if you have a Halloween party and you go crazy, you go stupid, right? let's talk about the next morning. The next morning after, you gotta go to work early. You gotta wake up. And let's say you have to take a little drive. Let's say you have to take a little drive to work, because where you live and where you work are in two different spots, and maybe like another city, so to speak. So you have to wake up, and you gotta get driving. But guess what? Last night, you had a couple of you did some crazy things last night. So now you're groggy. You're working off of, like, let's say 2 hours of sleep. If at best, right? You just cleaned up your whole party. You had guests over, but now you got responsibilities. You got it. Yeah, go get this paper. So you're driving, and now you're just like, you're feeling all the effects, and you're just like, how am I driving this car? I'm blacking out every 2 seconds, and I'm just trying to figure my life out. And you're just driving, and somehow you make it to your job. But now you have to work. Now you have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, last night, that Halloween was spooky time. It was spooky time. It was for fun. And now it's ruined. Now it's completely destroyed. You know why it's completely destroyed? Because the next day is just a regular day. Just a big punch in the face, really. Making this holiday on a Thursday. Not Tuesday. My fault. It's a Tuesday. So I just have to say, it's about what's right for the holiday. So anyways, next up, you have to open early. So let's say you work in town. You work in like a small, in your city or whatever. And it's not like a high paying job or whatever. It's just like a regular job, right? You have to open for, let's say you work at Starbucks, right? And you open that the next day after Halloween. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that like, what in the world are we doing here? Why is everybody, and you have to serve people coffee in the morning the next day. Isn't that, can we acknowledge that nobody should be waking up early the next day after Halloween? Like, nobody should be in there. Nobody should be doing that. Like, what are we trying to prove here? What are we doing? Because you're working at Starbucks. You have to get in there. You have to get the shop going. You have to clean up. You got to get ready. And then people get to walk in at like 6 a.m. And then they're like, yeah, let me get a coffee. You're just like, no, you cannot get a coffee. You should be at home, right? Like, what are you doing here? Because it's the day after Halloween. You should, be at home recovering from spooky night. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like one of the only holidays. Halloween's like one of the only holidays where they don't give you like enough recovery time, or I guess like kind of a way to like slow it down, I guess. But then again, the whole month. You do get the whole month. It's not like the same. I don't know. I guess it is a regular thing, and all things have to come to an end. But it just feels like the big moment is at the end of the month, and then the next day it's just like a regular day. I don't know. There's something to that. I'm probably saying it wrong, or I'm articulating it badly, but there has to be something there. So then, what if you work at a bakery? Have you ever been to a bakery? You ever see what people have to do to bake bread? They have to get the dough ready. They gotta like let it sit there. They gotta let it like rise up, and then it's available for people, and that takes a couple of hours. So, and maybe they was left there the night before. Who knows, right? But all I'm trying to say is, what if you work, let's say this, you work at a construction site the next morning, and you just went wild. You just went ham on Halloween, right? Now you have to go to work the next day early in the morning. Let's say road construction. Let's say you're building a house, right? Now you gotta put a brick. You gotta nail a bunch of wood together. You gotta just do all kinds of crazy stuff, And this is after Halloween. Like, come on. Isn't that what's really scary? The next day after Halloween, it's not actually Halloween that's scary. It's the following morning when you just went crazy and went wild, and now it's like, well, awesome. Now we're really living. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that the recovery period between Halloween and the next day, you have to, like, it can't just be a few hours. There has to be, like, more time, or there has to be a gap in between. But enough about that. Well, let's talk about the children here, the kids, because that's who this holiday is, like, really. I remember Halloween was, like, strictly for the kids. Now it's like, because of social media, it's like everybody has to dress up, and everybody's like, it's really become like a stolen thing, but it's really for the kids. So anyways, if you remember, if you don't, the next day, so if you go to school now, right? The next day, I guess you would just talk about Halloween. That would be like the thing. That would be like your go-to talking point. It's like, what did you do for Halloween? Oh, we walked around the neighborhood. Oh, I remember I saw you at, yeah. We passed by each other. I didn't say hi or anything because I was with my parents, and, I can't, talk to you while I'm with my parents because they're weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Or maybe you do see them and are like, yeah. And then we just hung out the rest of the night, and then we saw this person, and then we saw this person, and then this happened, and all of that stuff. Maybe you pass some candy around. You take some candy to school. You're just like, hey guys, I got some Halloween candy from last night. Does anybody have this kind of candy? And you just like share. You pass it over to each other. Or maybe you just eat candy. But isn't that wild that just the night before you were going around to people's houses and asking them for candy. But then today, right? Today, you have to go to school and you have to learn stuff. Like, what is going on? Isn't that nuts? That imagine this. You go to random people's houses and they give you free food, okay? And then after that, you just get to, everybody accepts it. Everybody's like, oh yeah, they're coming because they want food. Yeah. Great. Here you go, take it. And then the next day, everybody's okay. Everybody's cool. Like, what is going? Isn't that weird? I think that's just like a little bit weird. But it's fun. It's definitely fun. It's definitely spooky. I'll give it that. But the real scary part about this for children, for the kids, is that they have to go to school and they have to learn. They have to go to school and they can't just. It's not like there's obviously time to socialize and talk about the night before, but it's more so like, what is going. They have to go back to school and they have to learn about fractions. Like, what? Last night I was dressed up like a skeleton, as a bloody skeleton, and I was like getting around, hopped up on sugar. I don't want to learn any of this stuff. I want to keep on enjoying the rest of that spooky season. But now I have to like get ready for midterms, or I have to get ready for the end of the semester, or for like the big school test. Like, come on. Isn't that just, man, it must suck. It must suck. But I remember, I guess I didn't really think about it. I didn't really like question it. I wasn't really like, I don't want school tomorrow. It was just like, school's happening tomorrow whether I want it to or not. So, because it's happening, I might as well, go talk about Halloween, I guess. Unless your parents are cool and they go like, yeah, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. Like, we're staying up all night. We're eating candy. We're doing stuff. That's cool. That would be cool. So, all I'm trying to say is that, like, the next day when you're recovering from Halloween and you get no recovery time, it's kind of just like, what is going on? Which is why everybody's like, be responsible, be good, like, take them out for trick-or-treating, then bring them back home at a reasonable time, then put them to bed, and then you go to sleep so that way they can go to school refreshed and ready for the next day. And it's just like, what is going on? What is with all this reasonable? It's Halloween. Go crazy. But I get it, you know. I totally get it. People have things that they got to do the next day, but there just has to be more recovery time in between. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is you just need you just need the day. Just give us the next day free. Like Wednesday after Halloween, just make it a free day. An extra holiday, right? But no, obviously people don't do that. And even if they wanted to, they wouldn't. Because the next day is Dia de los Muertos. That's today, you know? Happy Dia de los Muertos. The Day of the Dead. Man, why do I always keep on struggling to say that? It's the Day of the Dead. Dia de los Muertos. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Anyways, it's still spooky season. It's kind of not. It's kind of like they try to give you like a few extra days to like take down your decorations, and it's kind of, you know what I mean? It feels like it's just a little add-on of like the spooky season. It's like it's technically still spooky season. It's technically not. It is. It isn't. So what do we do? Do we celebrate still the spooky season, or do we kind of like let it all go? And I feel like you let it all go and you just kind of celebrate the people who have passed, I guess. But you know, you could still dress up as like a skeleton and do your thing, right? Like that's totally possible. So it's spooky season, but it's not anymore. So it's over, but it isn't. So I guess that's kind of the recovery time isn't physical recovery time. It's more of like mental, you know? Mentally, you can still live in like spooky land, but in reality, it's like, it's just another day, you know? Which sucks so much. The buildup is just, they completely destroy it. They decimate it. In just one day. But, you know, it has to end at some point. And it just makes it feel so abrupt. It feels like just like stamp on the last day of the month is when the holiday happens. And then after that, it's just like, it's over. We're done. We're moving on to the next one. Mariah Carey pops out and she's singing All I Want for Christmas. You know? That's what it is. But speaking of that, I mean, the other holidays are coming up. So there's a reason why this has to end now. So that way there's like a little bit more gap, you know, a little bit more periods for people to go to work, go to school, get their hustle on. And then they get ready for the next two big holidays. All right? And I do say two. Okay? Because we're not celebrating Christmas just yet, all right? There's one right before it, and I refuse to like let people get into the holly jolly spirit before the turkey is in the oven. You know what I'm saying? So, and also, I guess it gives the kids a little bit more time to like prepare for the end of the year. Because if it was just all relaxation, you know, for the rest of the school year, it wouldn't be, you know, nobody would learn anything, I guess. Instead, it's like they try to make it where you have to learn stuff and you get to celebrate your holiday. You get to go trick-or-treating, and then the next day you go to school. But didn't they just go to school? People went to school on Halloween. So I guess there's a little bit like more fun at school, I guess. There's more of like community around it. Because you could go to school in your costume. You could like maybe get candy from your teachers or something, or your classmates. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit more to it. But anyways, that's just what it is. And then, you know, for people who are really looking to get into the holiday spirit, you got new decorations. So you can start putting up, you know, I mean, you can still leave up your pumpkins. You can put up like, I guess, Thanksgiving attire. I don't know what kind of like Thanksgiving decorations there are, but I imagine they're just like fall decorations, you know, orange and squashes and what are the cornucopias? Is that what they're called? Those little like horn looking things or whatever. But I think you get what I'm talking about. It's the It's the little basket or whatever that they put all like the fruit in. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what it is. But anyways, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. So overall, when you're recovering from Halloween, just what reality should be is after Halloween, there should be a recovery day, a free day. They should make it a holiday where everything shuts down, just a free day. So that way everybody can enjoy, school shouldn't happen on that day. Work shouldn't happen on that day. Like, it's just a free day where people can settle down, because the night before, obviously. But I guess people would take advantage of that day to really party, but it's not Halloween anymore. So, we'll tweak it, but that's just my thinking. But when you're recovering from Halloween, do what you feel is right. Everybody's different, but I think if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. You gotta do it just the right way. So when you're recovering, don't think about it too much, but also make sure you do what's comfortable for you. Okay, so if you're going to work the next morning and you went and you party hard last night, you gotta take it chill. You gotta take it easy. You gotta stay quiet and say the bare minimum. All right, don't overdo anything that you're not cool with. All right, so if you're working and you gotta deal with people, say as little as possible and just let them know the situation. I partied too hard last night on Halloween. I need some time. Like, that's what you should do. And that's the way it should be done. So, I mean, to the people, to the kids who have school the next day and maybe stayed up all night, like, you'll be fine. You'll get through it. You're fine. You're okay. Eat some more candy. Live life. You'll get through it. You know what I mean? You got energy. You got time. You're fine. For the parents who maybe stayed up a little late and have work the next day, I mean, we're all going through it. We're all struggling, but you know what you should do? You should definitely get like some sort of like remedy. Definitely drink some water. Definitely, if you need the caffeine, drink some coffee just to stay up. And then, what really helps is if as soon as you wake up, right? You drink your coffee, you drink some water, you get to work. If you have like anything ice cold around you, put it on your forehead. I tell you, it will wake you up and you'll be like, okay, I'm set. Like, it's kind of like jumping into cold water. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a burst, it shocks you. It shocks the body into waking up. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys. So again, when you're recovering from Halloween, after Halloween, there should just be a whole day dedicated to just recovering from it. But there's not. So we'll get a petition going. We'll figure it out. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.